discussion recently about how perhaps one should look back at some of the ideas of federalism that both Kasavubu and Chombe espoused for various reasons that may not have been completely useful. But what, in a way, Professor Kabamba is talking about is something more like the United States, where states have a lot of independence. And having militias, where I grew up on Long Island, New York, had its own militia. It had a police, and we paid it. So it wasn't from the central government. So all of that can be beneficial. Here's another question.
Yes, I have two little questions. First question
Can you
is...
stand up so we can hear you a little bit better?
Okay, my name is Honoré Zofun. My first question is, what was the relationship between Mobutu and after him, Kabila, and the other traders? My second question is, you talk about trust. How do you think the trust can be, we can still reconstruct the trust so that Congo become a peaceful country?
Mobutu actually, during his time, he knew that there were millions. What he was saying, he was send somebody with money. That's what he wanted. Mobutu was, these people were giving money to Mobutu. And it's the same reason why they're giving money to Kabila today. Please leave us alone. That the message is clear. That was the relationship between Mobutu and Mobutu actually was not controlling the country, despite what people say. Mobutu was kind of exploiting, the country was his coffin. He knew that his kind of leadership didn't depend on Congolese. He never was not accountable to Congolese. He was accountable to those who were maintaining the power. That's why when the Cold War ended in '89, that's all he thinks that collapsing, the whole thing. So Mobutu was just there, like, I need money, okay. And people understood that. They are very intelligent. And the trust, this is a new subject I'm trying to go through with the theory of Tilly. Tilly doesn't believe in interpersonal trust. He's talking about transaction. And Tony Giddens have this idea of distinguishing the personal trust and the community trust. And so what I'm planning to do in the future to find out why this is kind of ethnically based. Why, and could it expand to other ethnicities? My project I'm working on is to compare the Nande with the Bamileke in Western Cameroon, and the Igbo in Nigeria, and the Wolof in Senegal. What is it that ethnicity brings to have these pockets of trade-minded people within a country? In Cameroon, the Bamileke are known doing business. You know, if you have $10,000 and the Bamileke have 10,000, a few years later he will have more. Why? I don't know. So I'm trying to compare to see what is ethnicity, because ethnicity has been demonized a lot in the literature, and in this region is too, with the Hutu-Tutsi problem. But ethnicity, I think, have a kind of afterlife. It's not invented or not. It could be maybe, because every time things break down, people go back into the ethnic. So what is kind of positive conceptualization can we have of ethnicity? How to bring it back? How does it work? So this is my kind of new area of research.
I have a question.
One more quick question.
Thank you very much for a very thought-provoking discussion. The question I have, there are two things. A failed state, I think the states that are failing is a colonial state. These are colonial states that were established for the exploitation of the people of those countries, of the resources. So if they are failing, maybe it's a good thing. And maybe there's something to be said about, I mean, I think there's a lot in what you've said about this new germinating kind of arrangement, because I think it applies to practically everywhere in the world. I mean, right here in Chicago, you could think of downtown Chicago and the neighborhoods. You need, I think, throughout, we need more local government. Throughout the world, we need more local understanding and government, because we are next to each other. We have relations, we have arrangements that make it possible to live in the same neighborhood. So, two things I'm really saying is that the failed states, maybe they need to fail. And when we look at Africa and all the crises, maybe it's just a symptom of something. You plant something terrible, and you are now reaping some of the fruits of it. So perhaps these states need to collapse. And perhaps then what we are seeing in your examples, the indigenous forms that may eventually arise to take their place. We may have a different kind of government, and maybe that would be all right.
That's basically what I'm trying to say. It's this colonially imposed top-down state. That is what is failing.
Yes.
But the problem now is that they try to restore it.
Yes.
That's the people are trying to bring it back. So there are these two dynamics. And as you said, when you ask my question, what is a non-failed state? Well, what they refer to, even as American non-failed state, maybe in the Silicon Valley, yes, but not in the outskirts of Atlanta, for what I've seen.
Yeah. There's one more thing. If you look at the neighborhood that I just came from now, there is a lot of, where there's more crime, there's more murder, people are killing each other. And yet you find a curricula that is dictated from downtown, in which you don't find that reflected in what the children are studying. So you have usually an imposition from a central government of a theme, which perhaps does not have any resonance in the local environment. The more local control you have, the more you are attentive to your problems, the more you educate about it, the more serious you become about it. You have your fate in your own hands, and that to me is where the world ought to be.
I think we should probably conclude, but that's an extremely good point. Many researchers say that the reason centralized hierarchical states don't last very long compared to locally based chiefdoms and other kinds of super-regional organizations is because the people on the top don't know anything about, so they make a lot of mistakes. And then how do you force people to do things? You have to have a big standing army. And of course, nobody ever paid the army, so it wasn't going to be very cooperative except pillage the community so it could survive. So I think that thinking of the states that have failed in Congo as neo-colonial, of course, the colonial, and then neo-colonial being covertly colonial, they don't need to be preserved. But of course, the NATO countries still want to control the mining. So that's the dynamic. So thank you all very much for coming and staying, and I hope you'll come to our next lecture.
And thank you very much to Dr. Kabamba.